You're listening to Offer Accepted, the show that is all about fostering careers in real estate and growing your real estate team. Your host is Vanessa Rosenblum. Vanessa is the president of a search firm called Pro REA Staffing, where they help real estate agents hire talented people so that they can grow their businesses. On this show, Vanessa interviews real estate industry professionals from real estate assistants to team leaders of mega teams to learn how they achieved their current level of success and what they're doing to rise to the next level in their career or business. Whether you are exploring a career in real estate or you currently run a large real estate team and you want to be better at recruiting, training, and managing your employees and agents, this is a show you'll want to follow, so don't forget to hit subscribe. All right, let's go to the show. Here's your host, Vanessa.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. Welcome to the podcast. My guest today is Ben Weil. Ben is a top producing commercial real estate agent in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he is on a mission to build a mega team of smart, driven team players so that he can dominate San Francisco real estate. I think that Ben's business model and his approach to growth is one that both residential and commercial teams who are trying to figure out how to recruit long-term team players could adopt. So if you're exploring careers in real estate and you want to learn more about what it's like to work in commercial real estate at a very high level, I think you'll get a lot out of this interview. And if you're a leader of a team, I think you'll walk away with insight and maybe even some inspiration that you could bring to your own team building strategy. So Ben is taking an aggressive ground-up approach to building his team, and I think he is offering an incredible opportunity for the right person or people. He's basically paying new licensees to go through an intensive 6-month training and mentorship program with the expectation that they'll stay on his team and that they'll have the skills and the tools to earn $150,000, $200,000 or more in their second year in real estate. So I'm really excited to dig into Ben's model and what he's doing. So some of the things I want to focus on today are why commit to training? I mean, why start with new agents instead of trying to recruit people who already know a thing or two about real estate? So we'll talk about his philosophy around that. I also want to learn how he structures his training program. What is, on a practical level, what does that look like day to day? And, what's a day in the life of a commercial real estate broker like in San Francisco? And finally, has he been successful? What kind of results has he gotten? How much money have people made who have worked with him in this capacity? And this is a little off topic, but it's a little near and dear to my heart, so I want to get into it. Ben manages to sell a massive volume of real estate while also traveling extensively. And if you've ever felt a bit stuck and unable to see the world because you sell real estate, then I think you'll want to hear how Ben balances work and travel. So we'll definitely get into that as well. So Ben, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so let's just start at the beginning. I think you have a really interesting life story. So can you just give listeners a little background on yourself and how you found your way into commercial real estate?
Sure. I was born in San Francisco. Both my parents are from Israel, and at the age of 8, my parents separated, and I moved with my brother and my mother to Israel. They still live there. Spent 16 years there, going to elementary school, high school, to the Army for 3 years, and then to college before deciding to come back to the States and explore. And my father lives in Marin County, which is very close to San Francisco, so it was another good reason to come back here. When I was younger, my father was in commercial real estate as well. I did not grow up with him, so I didn't really get to see him in action. But I think that's where the idea came from, because I got to see him have a nice lifestyle of nice things, a nice home, while still having flexibility and making a decent amount of money. And I think I wanted to prove to myself that I could probably do the same or better. And so that's kind of where I got the idea. Also, with my personality being very straightforward and a go-getter, I like the idea of not necessarily having a boss. And so those things all added up, and I thought, I'll give it a year. If it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't work out, I can always just go back to Israel and continue my life, and things just took off from there.
And how long have you been in real estate now? How many years?
So I moved to San Francisco in 2007. About 3 months later, I went into real estate at a large company called Marcus & Millichap. did training there, was in the top agents in my office within my first year. And after 3 years there, I felt like I could do more and didn't want to be kind of like a little fish in a big sea because they had way too many offices and agents, and there was just no way for me to really express myself. And I took an opportunity with a company called Paragon, which is a San Francisco-based company that since was bought out by Compass, which many people probably know of. And there I was the number one agent in the entire company in 2017, also in 2018. And a lot of it had to do with knowing the market, being diligent, aggressive, following up, and also, of course, having a team that everybody kind of helps each other push forward. I like to compare the analogy to 5 different people trying to push a car, and no one would be able to succeed doing that. But if all 5 tried to push together, the car would start rolling. And that's kind of how I see a team helping each other when everybody can bounce ideas and deals and talk about situations and objections and issues, and that's how you manage to push forward.
Perfect. So what area of San Francisco do you focus on, and what kind of commercial real estate do you work in?
So the team focuses on East Bay, which covers quite a few cities, and we specialize in selling apartment buildings, multifamily income property. If our clients have other types of income property, we will help them. And if it's residential, we will typically refer them out because we really believe that specializing in a specific location and product is what makes you the expert and what makes the big bucks, and also is for the best interest of the clients.
And when you decided to get into commercial real estate, obviously you had a background because that's what your father did. Did you explore residential as well, or what were some of the pros and cons that you considered between residential and commercial?
So I majored in business management and finance, and I even taught math as a tutor in college, and I always was drawn to numbers. And commercial real estate is a lot more number-based because you're dealing with investors and they care about their returns and their IRR and their future upside and how they're making money and their exit strategies and stuff like that, and a lot less emotions. Whereas residential is less about the numbers, it's more about I like the home, I see myself living here for the school, and I don't think that my personality was good for that, nor did I think it was very interesting for my kind of goals and what I wanted from the career.
Makes sense. So talk about your first couple of years in the business. You were at Marcus & Millichap, so you probably went through their training program and you had to hit the phones and go through that. Talk about how you started to set your business up. How did you build the foundation of your business that has helped you get to this level?
So for starters, when I came to Marcus & Millichap, they wanted to put me as a junior for senior agents. But what happened was that basically the 1 or 2 senior agents that they wanted to put me with, they thought I was too aggressive, and they didn't think that I would be really good at taking orders as far as being underneath someone, and they recommended me being on my own from the beginning just because of my personality and how hungry I was. And so the company agreed to make an exception and hire me like that, and the manager of the office actually mentored me. Which was a really good experience and also allowed me to start making money sooner. I actually got my first listing before I even went to training, which was pretty cool. And they were cool with that. And then I got Rookie of the Year that year. And I just really, the first 2 years of my career, I would say I probably spent 6 days a week in the office of minimum 14 hours. Really just didn't want to take no for an answer, wanted to overcome objections, wanted to feel like I'm building relationships, follow up with letters to people that hung up on me or calling them back or showing up at their office and dropping off a business card, and really just making sure that I do it right. And knowing that I'm competing against agents that have been doing this for years, I knew that I had to, show a different angle or something special that not every agent has. So that was my first 2 years, and after that, the fruit from the tree started to, come out, and I made money, and I started developing relationships and more loyal clients and stuff like that. Um, and so then, when I moved to Paragon, which was a company that actually did not have any exposure in the East Bay, they let me take on the East Bay division because they saw that I had a very high volume of sales, both dollar-wise and transactions. And so I took that on, and then I realized that if I'm in charge of an East Bay division, I probably can't do it by myself, and that I need to build a team. And that's where the whole idea of building a team happened. And then I hired people that were, basically with me and super loyal, and that also allowed me to have better marketing for clients. They obviously don't pay triple the commission if we're 3 people on the team. They pay the same amount of commission, but they get triple amount of exposure. 3 people cold calling, 3 people doing showings or sending out emails or meeting with other people and discussing the deal. But also what it does is allows us, when we're getting listings, to send it out as a team. And then instead of me showing 5 listings and every other agent showing 5 listings, the team now suddenly shows 15 listings. And that's great exposure for the team and anyone associated with it. And it also allows anyone on the team to be able to talk about more deals, which you have more to offer to your client. They don't have to choose from the 5 listings you have. They can choose from the 15 listings you have. And then you talked about lifestyle. So for example, I've always had a passion for traveling. I've been to 66 countries. And I think that when you have a team, what happens is that people can cover up for each other. So first of all, you get a listing and you get an contract. And then if you want to travel, then the teammates will help you and you find a way to compensate each other. Here's $1,000 for a showing, or here's 25% of the deal, handle it. And the other thing is that the most hard part to do is to get the listing and get it in contract. Everything else is really done through email. So I could be literally sitting on a beach in Hawaii or Mexico or Israel or Greece and responding to emails on my iPhone or picking up the phone or Skype or who knows what. So those are actually pretty easy things to overcome. It's more the actual cold calling to find the deals, meeting with the people in person. Those are the important things. But the team really helps push forward and cover each other, and a better lifestyle where if you take vacations and you recharge yourself and you come back with a lot of excitement and energy, you're bound to make a lot more money because people on the other end of the phone can hear if you're in a good mood, a bad mood, excited, or jaded. If you're jaded, no one wants to talk to you, just like same thing with real life. You don't want to talk to someone with really low energy. You go to a bar, you're not smiling, no one's going to talk to you. You're smiling, good energy, showing people that you're out there, they want to talk to you, they gravitate towards you. And that's the exact same thing with real estate. So taking vacation, taking time off, covering for each other, all very important things.
So let's go back and talk about building your team. Did you decide to hire new agents right from the beginning, or was that something that you evolved on?
No, I actually felt that I always wanted to take on people that I felt had the right personality for real estate, focus on their experience, because even if you've been in real estate for 3 years, you might be a terrible agent. And the fact that you have experience doesn't mean you're any good. In fact, if you have experience and you were good, most likely you wouldn't be looking for a change. And the fact that you're looking for a change might mean that you weren't successful where you were and you think that a change might bring you success. And so I actually like the idea of taking someone where I like their personality and I feel like I can add a lot of value by teaching them the ins and outs of the business, helping them accelerate faster by not having to make some of the mistakes I made or having trial and error where they have no guidance. And therefore they can just push forward a lot faster. They can also use the team name and reputation and credibility to open doors where if you called someone and you had no team behind you or no reputation, there's a high probability that you're going to get hung up on or people say not interested or who the hell are you or stuff like that. And so there's a lot of advantages, but I really think that taking someone with no experience, and that's what I've done, is a lot more beneficial for the people that are getting the training because they're not confused with other training, and they really can learn from scratch. And they don't have to correct their mistakes, which is a lot harder than just learning it correctly from the beginning. Actually, the 2 people that were the best, and one of them even made 220 on his first year, which was a 23-year-old that I met at the gym. He was selling medical devices, made $24,000 that year, and he told me that he worked like 12 hours a day. And I said, wow, this guy's hardworking, makes no money, and he's exactly what I would like. And he made 220 his first year, paid off all his student loans, bought a new car, and even managed to put a down payment on a house. So that's what I like to do. He didn't even have a license, and I hired him and started the training before with the condition that he has a license within 3 to 4 months. And he had to simultaneously do the courses, which you would get to work an hour early and leave work an hour late and study 2 hours a day. And it worked out perfectly. So that's an example of how I like to build a team. You do not need prior experience in real estate, and actually I prefer that you don't. If you have prior experience in sales, that's a huge benefit because you know how to cold call, you know how to take no for an answer and maybe try to overcome objections. And those are important things in a person's character.
Yeah, so let's talk more about somebody's character. What kind of behavioral traits or personality styles do you feel are the best fit for commercial real estate and then for your team in particular?
I think that in commercial real estate, you need to be aggressive, but it's a very fine line between being aggressive and not taking no for an answer and trying to get there and pissing people off and burning bridges or ruining the chance for a relationship. So you have to kind of do a little bit of a dance, which is like push and pull, be aggressive, but then listen to the feedback or the comments and realize if you've been too aggressive, you should be a little more aggressive or take a step back. And I also think that you need to have very high self-discipline, because at the end of the day, no one's going to sit and hover over you and make sure that you made your calls or make sure that you're not late to work or make sure that you didn't leave early. You eat what you kill. So if you don't have it in you to make endless calls and overcome objections and follow up with emails or letters or meetings or other calls, then you're just not going to make it. But I do also think that you don't have to be a genius to make it in commercial real estate. I think you just have to be persistent. You have to know your market. You have to speak in an intelligent way about what it is that you do and know how to describe how you benefit the client, because if they don't understand how you benefit them, then why would they work with you? And you also have to be a decent listener and understand what their needs are, because not everyone has the same needs, and therefore the strategy for working with them is going to have to be specifically catered and not just a general blanket strategy of how you sell real estate.
Makes sense. So let's talk about your approach to training somebody who comes in with basic sales experience, no real estate experience. Like on day 1, day 7, day 30, what are they doing? How does that work?
So first of all, in order to work on my team, I always tell people, there cannot be any pride. You're working for me and with me. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're older than me or younger than me, a man, a woman, you just have to come to work and realize it's a tough business. And the only way to succeed is with discipline, which at the beginning you might not have. And therefore, if I am to give you tasks or request things that might look like orders, they're not really orders, they're for your own benefit. Because if you don't end up building this self-discipline, you just can't succeed. And I'm really looking out for the best interest of the people that are on my team or working for me. But at the beginning, it's a little frustrating for people when they think that I'm too strict or I'm asking for too much, and they don't realize that they should be asking that from themselves, because when they're done with the training, and I don't even look at what they're doing, if they slack, they're going to make no money. And so it's really just important to have a good foundation for the career. So when they come, I make sure there's discipline on when they come in and when they leave, with no excuses like the dog ate my homework or I have a dentist appointment. Of course, there's family events, there's being sick, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm human, they're human. I'm very understanding of that. But overall, just really try to keep it, as professional and as straightforward as possible. Then we focus more on them going out to see the real estate before anything. I want them to drive the streets. I want them to see the properties. I want them to take pictures of properties. I want them to describe what areas they like versus what areas they don't like and why, which buildings they appreciate and which they don't and why. And when you talk about that, they're really learning the market inside and out. I believe that if they end up starting to cold call people and they've never seen their property, or they don't know the block, or they don't know the neighborhood, they're going to sound like amateurs, and they're going to get hung up on quicker than they can say their name. So we start with knowing the real estate, knowing the neighborhoods, knowing the surroundings, knowing what's happening in those areas. So I ask them to look up, news articles, or look on websites every day and tell me what's going on in that area. New construction, changing rent control rules, financing, whatever, just to make sure that they know what's going on, they know the properties and that. And then we start talking about how to cold call. We start talking about how to price a property. We start talking about how to look up comps so that they really know how to price a property correctly. Looking up who the active agents are so they know who their competition is, who basically is successful versus who isn't, who they should look out for if they're going to do a presentation and they hear the name. Just really learning the ins and outs of the market. And I want them to know everything before they even make their first cold call. Then I have them do a rent survey, and then they get to know what the rents are in the area. They get to actually talk to owners in a non-threatening way, because they're not asking the owners for a listing. They're not asking the owners to buy something. They're just sharing market information. They're learning what the owners are getting for rents. They're sharing with the owners what other people are getting for rent. So they're adding value to the owners. The owners are adding value to them. And you even start to build little baby relationships just by owners knowing your name. And then you also get a little more comfortable on the phone, because even in rent surveys you can get hung up on. And once they're comfortable with that, and I feel like they know everything and they can price a property, look up comps, know the market, know how to talk to people, then I allow them to start cold calling. And by then, pretty quickly, they become experts.
It sounds like a lot of work on your side. I mean, that sounds like a huge commitment. How much time are you spending with people, and how much time are you able to spend doing the other stuff that you want to do?
Well, it is a huge commitment, and that's why I'm very picky with who I allow to join the team and who I want to have on the team. I also believe that the team should, a lot of people believe that you shouldn't mix business and pleasure. I disagree with that. I think that when you're working on a team and you're spending so many hours together, you need to be friends. You don't necessarily have to hang out every day or all the time, but if you're not friends, then it just makes life kind of miserable because it's too many hours together. So the personality is very important, and the interaction is very important, and it is a lot of work, but I think that it's beneficial, and it's also very satisfying for me to see that someone succeeds that I brought from nothing to making a lot of money and to doing really well. I think that it also depends a lot on the skills of the people that work for me and what kind of skills they came with. So, for example, if they're really good with computers, the same process that might take someone 3 weeks to learn can take them literally 3 days to learn. But if they're also busy trying to learn how to use a computer and Excel and software and look things up on the internet and all that kind of stuff, then it can be very frustrating. It's doable, and I've done it, but it's very frustrating. So a lot of it has to do with how fast people can comprehend stuff. Like I said, you don't have to be a genius to succeed. So for one person, I might say something once and they'll understand, and that's awesome. For someone else, it'll take 5 times and they'll understand, which is less awesome. But in both cases, at the end, they both understood. So you can, with a little bit of patience, you can bring people up to basically the same speed and skill set.
I mean, it just sounds like such an amazing opportunity for somebody. Like, it's like a no-brainer if you're trying to get into commercial real estate, or you want to make a lot of money, and you have the grit and the thick skin to deal with the cold calls and all of that. But not everybody succeeds in your process, even though you're holding their hand through the process. So what have you found have been some of the roadblocks when people aren't able to succeed and you're giving them all of these resources? What happens?
Like I said, if you're persistent and consistent and aggressive and diligent and know your ins and outs of the market, then you're going to succeed 100%. Of course, the market changes. So you might have a year where you made 300,000, a year where you made 150, and then a year where you made $1 million. Not everything is under your control, but you will succeed because there's always new buyers, there's always new sellers, there's always agents that quit, agents that died, agents that are not active anymore but still have their license. So there's always room for new people to succeed. And also the energy of a new agent is much higher than an older agent that's been doing it forever and basically doesn't pick up the phone anymore. And even their loyal clients will realize that maybe that, agent is no longer the right agent for them because they want someone that'll find deals, someone that'll get them a better price, someone that'll market with new technology. So there's always room for new people. And I think that the people that don't succeed are the people that come in promising that they're really hardworking, have no problem with long hours, don't care how long it takes to succeed, but it's all empty talk and promises. And when they realize that they actually have to spend a lot of hours and a lot of time before they ever see their first dollar, then they kind of lose steam and slow down and stop doing what it takes. And so it's kind of like a, catch 22, because you need to work harder in order to make money, not work less hard. And success is around the corner. You never know when you're going to get your first listing. I mean, it might be as easy as you called someone and they literally said, hey, my grandma died. I just inherited a building and I'm ready to sell now. Come over and give me a pricing. That could happen. That's not what we're working towards. We don't want to work just based on luck, but that luck could also bring your first listing where you expose yourself with postcards and your name, and that'll bring more listings. So it's really people that burn out before they ever succeeded, which is what will ruin their chances. And it's also people that don't have self-discipline, or they went in thinking it would be a lot easier, and then when they realize it wasn't, then they try to go back to what their old career was. That's very common. So a lot of times I like people that have their back up against the wall, where they either didn't have a career before, so they have nothing to fall back on, or they weren't really making money in their previous career, so going back to their previous career isn't an option. And just people that have to make it. A lot of times people that come that already have money, or already were very, very successful in some other place, they're not going to work as hard. So those are things that are very important. And I also think that a lot of times when you're cold calling, just part of the business, you're going to get hung up on, or people will even be rude to you, and you have to know how to not take it personally and just push forward. And when people get offended or angry or emotional and they stop focusing, then they're just not cut out for the business. And you can't always see that in the first few interviews with a person. Sometimes it takes a month of work with them to realize that they don't have what it takes, unfortunately.
Makes sense. So what's it like to work with you? I mean, what's the culture in your office on a day-to-day basis?
The culture in my office is that I really like the approach of no bullshit. Just you come in to work, you're trying to do your best. We don't really buddy until there's a lunch break, and then we can talk about personal stuff. Weekends we can have fun, after work can have fun, but in there I try to make sure that everybody is very focused, and that if you have questions, you speak up. I don't like it when a lot of times new agents they want to impress, and instead what they're doing is they're frustrating me, and they're also causing problems for themselves. What they want to do is show me that they can do it and they don't need help, but of course they can't do it because they don't know how to do it. And instead of impressing me, a task that takes an hour, 5 hours later, they haven't even done it. And so they wasted a ton of time. They frustrated me. They frustrated themselves. And a lot of times it can make them want to quit, or just make them just not be productive. And so I really encourage people to speak up with frustration, speak up with questions, and just really ask when you don't know something. I think that's more impressive than you pretending to know, or wanting to show me you can do it, because you are not expected to know how to do it when you just joined my team or just started in the business. So it's impressive when you say, hey, I know you told me to do this. I don't know how. Can you show me? Because you'll do it in 30 minutes instead of 4 hours. And also you showed me that you're curious and you don't have pride, and you're not just trying to do everything by yourself. So those are something in the culture that I think is very important in working with me, is just be open. If you want to complain about something, complain about it. If you have something to say it. And just kind of have a really nice, open relationship with everybody on the team. Talk about the deals, talk about your day, share. I like that at the end of every day, agents that work for me will send me a daily review of how their day went. It'll be as long or as short as they want. It'll say, I made 40 calls. I talked to 2 amazing people that might want to sell. I got hung up on 5 times. Here are the objections that I had. What would you have said? I had a great day. I had a shitty day. I have 4 meetings tomorrow. I got no meetings today. And that way I always know what they're doing. I can always add value, and I can also link up the team players to whoever I think should be working together on a specific deal if it'll benefit them or the client or us. And so that's kind of the work environment. It's fun, but serious.
I think you said a couple of things that I think are really valuable to sort of hone in on. And one is that you really see yourself, you are the leader of your team. You really take responsibility of being in that role as the leader. And as a leader, your job is to mentor, coach, train, and remove roadblocks so the people around you can be successful. And it sounds like maybe from your military training, I don't know, just maybe you were born with it, but you really get that that's your role. And unfortunately, I see too many agents who want to build a team. They want to have buyer's agents, for example, but they don't really move into their new role as a leader. And you just can't be successful. You can't just bring people on and say, great, go sell real estate. I'm going to keep taking my listings and I'll check in with you once a week. I just want to hone in on that. Like, you're able to do this and bring people up to your level of expectation because you take responsibility for your role as a leader. So I just wanted to hone in on that. And then at the end of the day, email is just so key. Like, just that accountability and staying on top of people and just having that flow of communication back and forth, I think is so critical. Now, we've talked offline about how you manage your time, and I think it'd be worth it to talk about that here. I mean, you give somebody a task and then you meet with them at a certain time. It sounds like you sort of time block so that they're not monopolizing your whole week. Can you kind of talk about how you structure that so that you have time to focus on your stuff as well?
I think that with a daily review, I always know what's going on with people. And then therefore, if there's something that I feel we need to focus on, then I can call them into my office, or we can meet, or we can even make something fun out of it and just talk about it over lunch at a restaurant, not have to make it feel so square and boring. But I think that overall, what I try to do is to train people so that they can be their own agent and reap the benefits of the team, which, like I said, more exposure, more deal flow, making more money, working together, bringing each other in on deals where you're competing against another team. And so you know that if 2 agents go to the meeting, that's going to impress the seller more than you being up against another team. The exposure for the client, the exposure for the teammates that basically have their name. If I list a property, their name is on it. If they list a property, my name's on it. Everybody's name is on the postcards or on the emails or on the marketing packages. And therefore, now you might have only had 2 listings this year because you're beginning, but you've already been on 35 emails and 35 postcards and 35 marketing packages or magazines. And so how are you going to get that kind of exposure if you do it alone? How are you even going to get the first 2 listings if you're alone and you're competing against a team like mine? Your chances are just a lot, slimmer. And so I think that we create something where we can compete very strongly against other people out there. We could probably even dominate, and everybody in the team gets to benefit hugely from it. And because of the way that I build a team that is really fair, I've also been really lucky to have people that work for me and are very loyal. But beyond the contract that we sign that's for X amount of years and all this kind of stuff, they've always just wanted to stay and not leave because they make a lot of money, they benefit. And at the end of the day, even if another company offers them a split that's 10% higher, if they lose a team approach and they make 3 deals less a year, even if the company over there offered them 25% higher, they would have lost money. So the percentage in the split is important, but I like to say that 100% of nothing is still nothing. So if you make a little less split than someone trying to bribe you to come to that company, but you made 4 extra deals, then that more than compensated. And so that level of loyalty has always been there because they make more money, they know I care, they get a nice setup. Like I said, they can even take a vacation and you cover for them. So what would they do if they were an agent on their own and they want to take vacation? They just have no business for that part of the year, or they tell their client, sorry, I can't talk to you. So there's a lot of benefits because I think that it's very important to have a live-work balance, and you can't really do that without a team or without people you can rely on. Even if you have an assistant as a personal agent, that assistant isn't vested as much as you are. They get their salary. If you lose a deal, they still get their salary. If you didn't get the highest price, they still get their salary. And at the end of the day, while they might like you and respect you and work for you, it's not the same as someone that has skin in the game.
Perfect. Great. And let's switch gears a little bit. I know you spoke earlier a little bit about travel, but first of all, give people an idea of how much you actually get to travel. You said 66 countries, but about how much time out of the year are you actually out of the country or out of the office?
It varies. I would say I'm probably out of the office about 6 months a year. In 2012, I actually left for 14 months, moved to China for 8 months to study Chinese, and then traveled around Asia and then went to Israel. So I was gone for a while, and I still managed to make a lot of money and do a lot of deals that year because the setup was correct. And I still could email and call my clients, and the team was very capable of showing the properties and filling out the contracts. And I would still do the negotiating and everything, but just the logistics were on the team, which is another huge way of showing how much a team is important, because your deal flows continue. Your clients don't think you're out. They don't go looking for a different agent just because you decided to do something cool with your life. And actually, when I came back speaking and reading and writing Mandarin, I ended up making more money than I ever made in the previous years because I was energized. I had excitement, and people hadn't seen me for a while, and everybody wanted to work with me, and it was a really good experience. But I do want to emphasize on the fact that even when I travel, my clients get the full service. So I don't travel irresponsibly where it's like, I'm out, sorry that you're selling your building with me, but I'm not there to show it or sell it, or sorry if you're looking to buy, but I'm not there to help you find the property. I travel responsibly, making sure that the client's best needs are still covered, either by me or a teammate, and that I can basically recharge or have fun, or instead of sitting in my office and talking to you, let's say you're my client, instead of sitting in the office and talking to you, I'm sitting in Tel Aviv in my mom's house, and I'm still talking to you. The conversation's the same conversation, and the outcome's still the same outcome, but I get to breathe a little bit, different air in different countries and stuff like that. So that's kind of something that I do, and it's a hobby, it's a passion, and also what's really important and cool about it is that this is a people's business. And so the more you travel, the more cultures you see, the more music, the more languages, the more foods, and it bonds you a lot with different types of property owners and clients, because you have clients from China and from India and from Philippines and from Mexico and from Russia and American and you name it, a million more different places. Yeah. And if I could tell all these clients, I've been to your country, I've tried your food, I know some words in your language, I like your music, I don't like your music, whatever. Yeah. Topic of conversation, it's a bonding beyond, hey, do you want to sell your building? And that's very important in this business as well, is to build relationships that are more personal than just helping people buy and sell. Because at the end of the day, as good as I am or as good as my team is, there's other people that are probably good as well. I'm not the only good agent out there. But when you bond with them and they feel that you're loyal and you're looking out for their best interest, they will return the loyalty, which makes you more money and also makes the career more fun. And I've closed deals where clients have flown me with them to Vietnam, Korea, Hong Kong, China, Philippines, Canada, Vegas. Wow. One client was supposed to go with me to Sri Lanka. He couldn't go. He sent me a ticket and I went by myself. But it gets to the point where you're friends and you reward each other and you have fun with each other, and that's what really makes you not burn out as an agent, makes you get more deals and more fun doing it. And the client also appreciates it and doesn't feel like it's boring. Because when they give you a listing and you need to talk to them almost every day for 60 to 90 days, if they don't have a bond with you and they don't really like you, that's miserable. So I believe that's also a really big factor. Yeah.
No, I love that. And it's such a paradigm shift. I think hopefully agents are listening to this and they're thinking about how they can restructure the way they do things and change. I mean, sort of like Tim Ferriss's book, right? Like the whole idea that you could have a 4-hour work week. You might not actually have a 4-hour work week, but the idea that you don't have to be in meetings all the time, or you can do things differently and you can leverage yourself. It's possible. And it's just not very common in real estate for people to be able to get up and go like that. And I just love that that you live that and you're a model for what is possible. Like, you don't have to be chained to your desk. You can still do this business and have a really interesting life. So
yeah, I mean, a good example would be 2017, where I sold $166 million of real estate, and I was out of the country for 7 or 8 months of that year. So if you thought, oh, he only worked 4 months, well, I made the most money I ever made in my life in that year, and I was traveling for most of it. So I think that also the most important thing is to be very honest and open with your clients. If they know that you love traveling, but you can show them that they don't miss out from anything by you traveling, then they support your traveling and they think, wow, you're awesome for traveling and being able to do this, what a stud, whatever. But if you aren't open and honest with your clients, then they actually think you're missing in action and they don't want to work with you. So I think that honesty and openness is also a very important thing to building relationships. And also, if they really want you here and they're so loyal to you and they appreciate you and respect your travel and your lifestyle and the fact that you're not just going to work in like a machine, they will even sometimes wait for you. They'll say, oh, you're going to Israel for 2 months? Then let's wait and list my property when you're back. No problem, no rush. So you get to have these really deep, caring, and reasonable relationships, which are really awesome, and they add to your success as well.
I think that is a perfect note to end on. You guys, if you're interested in learning more about Ben or his team, we are hiring. ProRA Staffing is helping with that selection process. So I'll include the link to Ben's job ad in the show notes. So reach out to us, and we'd love to consider you for the role and connect you with Ben. And Ben, thank you so much. This was a really interesting conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Offer Accepted, the podcast for fostering careers in real estate and growing a successful real estate team. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. You can also check us out on YouTube. Search ProRA Staffing and you'll find this and a ton more content all around hiring and managing your growing real estate team and launching your career in real estate. We'll see you in the next episode.